I had somewhat high hopes for the new horror film on Hulu, The Inheritance. The movie isn't horrible by any means, but I think that it definitely underperforms. It's the type of movie you watch and then a few months later you forget about and you wonder if you've actually seen it. The storyline, it doesn't quite land. And for a horror movie, I thought it wasn't the least bit scary. Now, much of the film centers around four rich adult kids named the Abernathy children, and another lead character, Hannah, who's married to one of the kids named Drew, who kind of looks like her husband, kind of looks like Travis Kelsey a little bit. The group are told by their father, they come home for the weekend to the estate, and they're told by their father that he's going to be killed by midnight, and essentially they're there to protect him. It's an odd scenario to say the least, and as such, they wander around the Abernathy mansion with no butlers, no help. No one else is in there except the kids and the dad. And they're somewhat confused, somewhat irritated, but also kind of looking for vulnerabilities for someone to get in. Soon they discover, though, it's not a person actually out to get their dad, but something else, something supernatural. Now, one of my biggest gripes with this movie right from the get go is that they're there essentially to protect their father, yet they wander around the home for most of the night, individually getting picked off one by one. So I question why in this movie, if they really wanted to protect him, if that was really the mission, why didn't they all just stay inside the study, barricade themselves in one room if he just had to make it till midnight? The group doesn't do this. No one even suggests this. And even after they start dying, it doesn't make much sense why no one thought to say, hey, let's just all go in here. Let's stay in here. We'll barricade ourselves in. And I understand if you've seen the movie, you'll know why the dad wants them essentially out and about inside the mansion, wandering around. But the children, someone should have brought that up. Now, probably why this movie didn't work was that it was so dependent too on that twist at the end, and the not so surprising revelation that the dad made a pact with a demon. It didn't work out because, of course, Hannah, the main character, was pregnant, ensuring the Abernathy bloodline would survive, would go on. And I believe the movie really should have gone a different route here and had the dad essentially tell them the truth up front. They should have shown him to be remorseful, regretful, rather than still power obsessed when he's 74 years old. That way, we could have had the family aware and try to battle the demon maybe as best they could. Sure, they may have been skeptical at first, especially the two business rich kids. I can't remember their names. But, once things started to get going, they could, it definitely could have been interesting seeing how they survived. Obviously, that's not maybe the best storyline that I'm thinking of off the top of my head, but I think it would have made the film a bit more intense, as many of the scenes, the Abernathy children really seemed confused rather than scared, and their reaction really leads to the scenes not really being scary. Now, as someone who watches a lot of horror, again, I have to stress this movie really wasn't scary at all. It just didn't work. Many of the scenes had a terrible build-up and were extremely predictable. The music was bad too in many of the scenes, and that plays, a role. I was a bit disappointed that they also killed off Cammy, played by Peyton List, first. Now, it looks like her career, on a side note, is taking off a bit, and of all the young Cobra Kai cast, I actually think she's going to have the best career of all of the younger actors and actresses, or at least one of the better ones. Now, coming back to the movie, the ending scene when they finally showed the Demon of Greed, I can't remember what the Demon of Greed is called, the CGI looked really awful here. This is definitely a case where less is more, and they should have been showing the actor's horrified reaction rather than the demon. Leave everything up to the imagination here. I do have to also question the plot hole around the pact too. He made the pact so he could be rich, so he could essentially provide for his family, yet he's willing to kill all of them, condemn them to hell so that he can live a few more years. I mean, he's 74 years old. The movie never really says for sure whether the children, went to hell, but that seems to be where they went based on the hauntings, based on them kind of coming back. He condemned them to some sort of other evil reality or something. In sum, I thought this movie was pretty forgettable, a movie that definitely underperformed, and I would have liked to see it go a different direction. Have you seen this movie? What did you think of The Inheritance? Thanks for your time.